How do you define the word success? Welcome to the Relive the Moments podcast. I'm John Lim. Hello, and welcome to the Relive the Moments podcast. I have a very special guest for you today, where we'll be going back to his childhood to where he is now, talking about all the amazing moments that made him the successful man he is today. Today's guest is someone who brings serious expertise and energy to everything he does. Dr. Brett Axelrod. He's the founder and director of Elmsford Chiropractic Health and Wellness Center in New York, where he's been helping people live healthier, more productive lives for over 2 decades now. Dr. Brett is more than just a chiropractor. I can certify that as I'm a patient. He is a certified chiropractic sports physician, a life coach, an international speaker, and the co-founder of Chiro Destiny, a unique community that helps fellow chiropractors build their business, successfully navigate through the business that they're working on, as well as living truly fulfilled lives. He's worked with pro athletes, Fortune 500 companies, and thousands of individuals looking to unlock their best selves. Whether he's on stage, in the clinic, or coaching fellow professionals, Brett brings a passion, a purpose, and a no-nonsense approach to making an impact. Please welcome to the episode, Dr. Brett Axelrod.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a great journey getting to know you.
Thank you. You too.
For those who don't know, because you wouldn't, unless you are on the basketball court with us, I actually started playing basketball against Brett. And when my back was hurting, I was like, all right, I got to get to a chiropractor, find something out. I've been to chiropractors before. They're great. They're not so great. All different experiences. So I text one of the guys that we play ball with, and I'm like, hey, I heard Brett talking about playing during the basketball game. I heard him talking about chiropractic services. Does he do that? Yeah. Dr. Axelrod is great. All right, can you give me his number? I went there. Completely blew my mind. Now, first, I chose him because as I was playing well that day, okay, in the middle of the game, he's like, all right, no more. I got John. I'm going to cover him, shutting him down, end of story. You guys worry about somebody else. So the tenacity that he had brought me right to him. And then when I got there, it was the most engaging experience I've ever had. There was an hour consultation. I got scans of my nerves and my back and my posture, my feet, things that never have I've ever experienced during the chiropractic side. So, Doc, you're not just a chiropractor, okay? That might be your title,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
but I think what you do is much bigger than that.
Yep.
How'd you get there?
Well, I think over the years, for my own experience of playing ball in college, it started off with an injury, and I wanted to really, how could I perform better? How could I have less injuries along the way? And then I had my own experience through the medical profession, things working, not working, orthos, PTs, not really helping me to the level I wanted to. And when the orthopedist, and this is back in 1984, I was a freshman in college, and they referred me to a chiropractor because nobody else could help me. I've sort of heard of them, but wasn't sure what they did, couldn't really pronounce the name. I was pre-med at the time. I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon. That was my original vision. And when I had this experience where he helped me in a shorter amount of time, no drugs, no surgery, got to the root cause of the problem, corrected the problem, and more importantly, not only did it get me back playing, but got me back playing better. It helped to optimize my performance. And I said, how come nobody knows about this? And from that experience is what led me to the path and got me on the journey to wanting to help others, especially athletes, going through what I went through. But also, I used to get very bad bronchitis and bronchial asthma when I was younger too. And the chiropractor said he might be able to help me with that too. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? And he started to teach me about the role of the nervous system. And so when the nervous system is under so much interference, your body's just not going to function optimally. And so I went through the medical route. I had, family members who were medical doctors, and I took on inhalers and antibiotics constantly, sick all the time. And as an athlete, trying to be on an inhaler, not being able to breathe, the way you want to, you're not going to perform at an optimal level. So he started to adjust my spine, which is to correct misalignments, to open up the nerves, to allow your body to function more optimally. And as he started to do that, Well, the problem I originally had, he got me back playing in record time. But what I noticed was over the next probably 3, 4, 5 months, I started to breathe better. I started to get sick less often, and I started to perform better. And that's what really got me on this path of wanting to help people with a more natural approach versus just treating things with medicine or just treating symptoms, which was, how do we correct the underlying problem and get the body to function as best as it can? So that's how I got into chiropractic. Playing sports, as you know, it's about relationships for me. And I was always a team first guy. And so I think when in high school, some of my best friends today were friends of, best friends in high school. We were a very close-knit team. Ironically, you and I think we talked about, we went to the same high school. I was there much earlier before you. But we were, listen, we had 8 guys on our team. We couldn't get enough guys to get a full team. We had 8 guys, couldn't scrimmage the way we wanted to, but we went a long way. And my best friend who was a point guard, played in college as well. But we really developed a synergy like nothing I've ever seen. And so when I got to college, that synergy really was very different. It didn't really evolve to the extent that it did when I was in high school for whatever reason. It was kind of a dog-eat-dog world. Everyone was out for themselves. And the level of success wasn't there. But being a team first guys, I always wanted to try to help the individual players on our team. I became captain my senior year of college. And I wanted to help the younger players because I knew it would help us as a team.
Of course.
And so that's how it started.
So we're gonna go backwards a little bit, and we'll get back to that side of it. But you said the word success.
Yeah.
How do you define the word success?
Well, for me, it's really, how do I create an impact on people's lives? How can I influence people's lives and impact so much that they didn't even think was possible, but how can they live healthier? How could they be a better version of themselves, mentally, physically, spiritually? And so I do that through chiropractic physically as well, obviously, but I'm also a certified life coach. I'm sure you'll ask me about that. But the reason why is because success to me is helping people live their best lives, which in turn gives me such a great satisfaction. That's part of my purpose and vision in life. So then it all comes back. So I always teach my staff, it's about service first. The accoutrements of success, money, whatever, however you define, money, fame, whatever, all that comes back to you when you help others achieve what they want in life. I think, that's been said before, but it's actually true. And the more we do that, then it gives me an opportunity to give me more freedom by time and money that I could live the way I want to live. The freedom, that word to me is the key to success. And that means I can go wherever I want. I can do whatever I want. I can go with whomever I want to. It's that freedom. But that comes as a byproduct of helping others first.
Of course. Yeah. But I want to try to quantify that. So often people might say, I had a good day. How was your day? I had a good day or a bad day.
Yeah.
And I believe that the day is made up of 1,440 minutes.
Yeah.
And I believe that the day is made up of a series of moments.
Yep.
Now, if you look at it like money, and you say, okay, listen, there's a jar to my left, that's my good moments.
Yep.
There's a jar to my right, that's my bad moments.
Right.
And every time I have a moment, I'm going to wrap it up and put it in the jar. Then at the end of the day, if you had 10 moments in the day, and 8 of those were in the good jar and 2 of those were in the bad jar, if you replace that with money and you made $10 that day and it cost you 2 to make the 10, you're very successful. So it's an easy way to quantify success, right? If success for me is to have more good days than bad days, then I need more positive moments than negative moments.
Right.
When you talk about success, okay, being able to help people, let's try to quantify that to, how do you judge how successful you are? Is it by, do you track how many people you help? Is it by, let's try to help the audience figure out how you quantify success.
Okay, well, first of all, it starts with a feeling, and it's feedback from patients, feedback from clients, feedback from the people that I'm helping. We track everything, patients' progress. So when I see they're progressing at certain levels, that's a level of success. If I'm coaching other doctors in terms of their practice, there's certain KPI numbers that we look for and that they're growing. So it's really, that's how we quantify it, is how people are improving by those numbers, and then individual chiropractors, how they're growing by their practices and income and everything else that way as well, which then in turns allows me to make more money and help and so forth. So I guess that if I had to quantify it that way, it's a lot of it by numbers and KPIs. We can track all that stuff for sure.
Right. When it comes to the success of the practice or their practice.
Right.
But you said something that I loved where success for you
Mm-hmm.
was about how many people you can help.
Yep.
So how do you keep track of how many people you can help? Is it just in your memory? Do you relive these moments in the past? Or do you see something that reminds you of someone you're like, you know what, I remember when I helped that person? Because success for you is how many people you help. So how do you keep track of your success?
Well, listen, it starts with our practice. So in our practice, we track every single number, every patient that comes in, how many people came in, and out of those people, who's improving at the level that we expect them to, what's their feedback, are they happy with where they're at, and so forth. So certainly we track all of those things. Nothing is 100%, no doctor is 100%, but if we're at 80, 90% or more even, that to me is a good level of success because I'm getting their feedback as well.
Sure.
Because partly objective, because we can see numbers and how they're improving in their health and so forth, or the individual chiropractor in their practice. So we do track all of those numbers. So I can see exactly how it's going. And if I'm getting the majority of those people moving in the direction they want to move to, then I know we're being successful in helping them.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Please, go ahead.
Okay, especially because I'm a patient. I know your staff. I love your staff. And they're going to watch this.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about your memory here for a second.
Okay, yeah.
If success for you is defined by how many people you help, okay, and when did you start the practice? How many years ago?
1993.
Okay, right. So you have almost 28 years in. Sorry, that's even the wrong math, right? Almost 30 years now.
32.
28 years.
Finished 32. Well, I started in 1992 in practice, my own in 93. So we just finished. We're in 32 years, starting year 33.
Right. For those of you who know I'm good at math, I completely screwed that up. So that'll definitely be corrected. We will not edit that out. We will put it in there. Okay, and my kids will definitely laugh about this. Like, Dad, I thought you were good at math.
Right.
I was this morning, but this afternoon, I don't know so much. All right, so 32 years. How many people would you say you've helped in the 32 years of owning your practice?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. So I could give you, let's see, 24, 2,000 a month times 12, 24,000 times, tens of thousands probably.
All right.
Exact number, but a lot.
So when you think about success, for those who are out there listening, it's not about money. For the doc, it's really about how many people you helped.
Yeah.
So from 0 to 50,000 people, over 50,000 people.
Yeah, even more. Yeah.
You're a very successful person.
Yeah.
All right. So good. So we've
Just
defined
means I've
success.
been doing this a long time.
Well, listen, longevity is a key to success.
No doubt.
as well.
It's part of it. No doubt. Yeah.
Okay. So you obviously weren't born successful.
Nope.
All
Not
right.
even close.
So now we're gonna bring it back.
Okay.
To when you were a kid.
Yep.
All right. Yes. So who was the most influential person in the early stage of your life?
I would say probably my father. It's an interesting story. My parents owned some shoe stores and some children's clothing stores. So what I learned from my father was about integrity, about always doing the right thing. He was the type of guy that his word was his bond. He could do a handshake, didn't need a contract or anything like that. And so to me, that was important. I learned a lot of those business lessons from him that way, but then there were some other poor lessons that I learned from my parents, thank God, that they failed, but I was smart enough to learn what not to do. But my father in a positive light early on, I would say, watching him and how he interacted with his employees and so forth.
All right. Yeah. So I'd like to ask you to relive, let's relive a moment with you and your dad. What is one of the most memorable, positive moments of you and your dad?
Okay. So I'd say, I don't know if I can remember that far back, but probably around the age of 7 or 8, my father was big into photography. So we went to a park in Mamaroneck, obviously around years and years ago, and we would take pictures and stuff like that. And I remember just sitting on a park bench, and he just started to talk to me a little bit about life, and just and basically just said, and I think maybe I've asked him, what does it take to be successful, or how did you get to where you work on? And I just remember saying one thing, which is always treating people the way you want them to treat you. Something simple and basic, but when you're 7 years old, You're like, huh, okay, that's easy enough. But it became profound because I think when we hear something that's simple and profound, that sticks with us and becomes one of your core values, I think, for the rest of your life, or at least did for me.
Right.
So simple as that, but that's what I've always, and I'm a big believer in that.
Well, a lot of the most powerful things are the most simple.
Yeah.
You know, what your dad taught you was the golden rule.
Yes.
Treat others the way you want to be treated.
Yeah.
Around the 80s when you started your practice,
Yeah.
I forget the doctor's name, but he came up with called the platinum rule.
Yeah.
Right, which shaped the way I think how we communicate today is treat others the way they want to be treated.
Yeah.
Right, which kind of modified that a little bit.
Yeah.
So I've always lived by that now.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to be treated a certain way, even if it's not the way that I want to be treated, let me honor you by doing it your way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
No problem whatsoever.
Yep. Yep.
All right, so you're 7, 8 years old. You're with Dad in the park, playing a sport, playing with the ball.
No, actually, it was just we taking. He was teaching me photography. He loved photography. I probably wasn't into it that much. I just wanted to play sports, but you know, you go along with it, right? He was so into it, so bought me my first camera. And we just started taking pictures, teaching me about that. We sat, and that's where it was.
And then he just laid on that very simple.
We took some pictures, whatever, and then we just sat on the bench, and then we just started to talk, and I remember that was like one of the first things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing because I think we often forget that first person.
Yeah.
Like for me, it was my grandmother. So I remember her well. If it wasn't for her, I would not be an entrepreneur today.
Okay.
And there's so many things I can talk about in her in that scenario. But like they shape the early side of you, and that always stays with you.
Right.
Right. So your dad's the guy who taught you that.
Yeah.
He happened to be an entrepreneur himself, so that actually was a double bonus for you.
Absolutely.
Okay. And as you further now we go from 7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, you start playing some high school ball. All right, I'm sure you were a big man on campus at that point. I know the campus, so if you were a good ball player, I know exactly how that worked. All right. And you go off to college. What college did you go to?
University of Albany.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what made you choose the college?
I think at the time I was looking for a school that was good academically, but also I could play at. They recruited me pretty strongly. And so it had that combination of, I know I could play there, had a good academic reputation, so I figured the combination would be a good fit for me.
All right. Yeah. So you were actually playing college ball.
Yeah.
And you got hurt.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to put this person as the person, but as you now sit here very successful with a beautiful practice, a beautiful family, and helping tens of thousands, if not 100,000 people throughout your life.
Yeah.
As an adult, who would you say was the most influential person in your life? Help you get to that success level that you are now?
I would probably say, interestingly enough, there's a couple of different coaches, without a doubt. And then I had a mentor later. But at that moment, I would say my high school basketball coach, Pete Kelly, was the start of it. He was very assertive personality type. And he was the type of guy that pulled no punches and told you how it was, and probably to a fault. But I think that set the stage for me in terms of being successful. I think it allowed me to, I think I had a lot of anger inside of me when I was a kid for various reasons. And he kind of took me under his wing, and he was a no-nonsense guy. And I think I needed that, and he began to mold and shape me to direct my anger into sports to become a better athlete. And so I think he had probably the beginnings of that big influence on me as an 18-year-old. And that's where it started for sure.
All right, Claudio, do you remember that movie with Shaq and Penny Hardaway, the basketball movie? They played with another white basketball player. I forget the name of the movie.
Blue Chips?
Blue Chips.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Blue Chips. So if you ever watch Blue Chips and you look at the coach,
Nick Nolte.
Nick Nolte is the coach, right?
Yeah.
That was Pete Kelly.
Yeah.
Okay, Pete Kelly was Nick Nolte in Blue Chips.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, would you credit him as an adult now, right? So your dad is the owner of the space in your brain.
Yeah.
That we just relived that moment with him that gave you that strong, solid start.
Yeah.
Do you credit Pete Kelly with the success now in the second stage of your life, the adulthood stage of your life? Or is it the mentor that you were about to mention?
Yeah, so after high school, when I got to college, my college coach was Pete Kelly on steroids. A whole nother level. And it was on a bigger platform, a bigger forum, right? Because now you play college ball, everybody can play.
Yeah.
And the one thing that Well, what I've learned in life is, as you go through different periods of your life, people come into your life, right, as teachers. And so my college coach, also very assertive, also a no-nonsense guy to a whole nother level. And I remember my freshman year, I had a great freshman year. Sophomore year, that sophomore slump, if you will, I was playing awful. I lost my confidence. And he just benched me. And he goes, listen, you're not helping us. You're benched. And that was it. No, like, arm around me. No, you could do better. None of that. And it pissed me off so much that the summer of my sophomore year, going into my junior year, he really challenged me. In other words, he taught me that life is not going to just hand things out to you. You got to go get it. You got to earn it. And I went bananas my summer year going into my junior year, training harder than I ever, because I realized when you're in high school and you're better than most, you get away with that. But when you're in college, everybody's at your level, right? The one thing I always prided myself was, you might be better than me skill-wise. You might be better, you may be more athletic than me. You're not going to outwork me, ever. And so I went crazy that summer, running, training, and I came back my junior year with a whole mindset you can't even imagine. I remember the first fall practice, I just was, and they were looking at me like I was a nut, like I was just crazy. I didn't care. I wanted to prove myself to me, prove myself to them that I was much more capable, get my starting job back. I ended up having I was voted most improved player my junior year, and went on to have a great junior and senior year. But that taught me that I had to take responsibility for me, first big lesson, change who I was being, right, to get the result that I wanted, which was not good enough, because to me, mediocrity sucks in my bulb. I hate it. It's like white bread and mayonnaise, right? So I hate being mediocre in anything. But sometimes you have to work harder and become at a different level to attain the level of success that you want. That taught me that I needed to do that, and I wasn't doing that. And I said, first I had my thumb in my mouth. I was blaming him, blaming this one and that one. I was blaming everybody else. And then I finally learned it's not about them, circumstances, the economy. It's about me. And if I want something in my life, then it's up to me to take accountability, step one. Step two, do something about it. And that's what I did. But the person who had the most impact and influence on me being not successful, not just money and success that way, but being a more successful human being, was a gentleman by the name of Larry Markson, and I'm best friends with his son, Rick Markson, who I met after. But Larry took me under his wing. I became a client of his when I got into practice, and he started to teach me about being successful in practice and being successful in life and what that meant, which was learning to work on me. Work harder on me, my belief systems, my vision, my purpose, my mission. Get clear about who I am, where I'm going, what it is I want to create and accomplish in life. And he put me on a path that really changed the trajectory of my life for me and my family, like you can't even imagine. And it was just.
So I want to get back to that, but you said something that I think is very important to take away.
Yeah.
Right. As you heard earlier in the episode, a day is made up of 1,440 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I grew up in Catholic school, and I learned that, hey, listen, everybody's created equal.
Yep.
All right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Agreed, right?
Yeah.
We're all human.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
But the one thing we all have the same of every single day, no matter what walk of life you came from, is the 1,440 minutes.
No doubt.
And what you said, I think, is a great nugget for people watching to understand.
Yeah.
That you might be smarter, you might be more privileged, you might be a better athlete, you might be any of the things that I'm competing against.
Right.
But what you will not do, what I dedicate myself to, you will not outwork me.
Right.
I will maximize those 1,440 minutes in a way that you can't.
Right.
Okay, and that's how I'm going to win, and that's how I'm going to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So I want to go back to real quick to relive the moments, to give homage and praise to Mr. Markson, who you mentioned.
Yeah, Dr. Markson.
Dr. Markson.
Yeah.
So let's relive your favorite moment with Dr. Markson.
It's an interesting story. So he was running these big seminars, and he had the biggest coaching company in chiropractic. It's about 1,000 members. And he put on these big conferences. And I've never met him personally, but he was looked at as the guru. Very successful, all that stuff. And it was at my first seminar. I was walking across the bar, going into this other room, and he was at the bar talking to some people. It was right after the seminar just ended, and he corralled me in, and he said, "You've got a poverty consciousness, and I can help you." And I looked at him and said, what? What are you talking about? I had no idea. First of all, it's like God talking to you, right? And I was young. I mean, this is 1993 or 4. So I was probably, I don't know, 27 or whatever, 28, 27. And I didn't know what he was talking about. He goes, he started to talk to me. And he's like, God is talking to you. And I'm like, okay, I'm listening intently. I'm not sure what he's saying. He goes, here's what I want you to do. Make an appointment next week. Come to the office. It was on Long Island. And let's have a conversation. So I did. I went down to Long Island, drove about an hour to get there. And we just sat and talked just like this about life and philosophy. And he was saying to me that your word, the way I'm hearing you, and I didn't even know he knew who I was, but listening to the words that I was using. And it was a poverty consciousness, like, you know, if people say, oh, people can't afford this, or I can't do this, I can't do that, blah, blah, blah. People talk themselves out of success, or they keep themselves at a certain level, right? So he says, we're going to change you from a poverty consciousness to an abundance mentality. And so he set me on that road to understanding what that means. And so ever since then, well, physically you would outwork people playing basketball.
Yep.
This came which I harder, much harder. But when I began to go to work harder on myself than I did on my profession or vocation, right, that's how I became even more successful. And in turn, wanted to help other people learn what I learned. And so, but that's where it was all mental.
Mental, yeah. He sounds like a guy who believes in affirmations, as
Big
I do.
time, big
right?
time,
So the abundance
Yes.
affirmation,
Yeah.
right, allows
Yeah.
you to receive and
Yeah.
give abundance.
He
in all
taught, we
aspects.
call it the big 4.
Okay.
Written goals, reading them every day, saying affirmations every day. Some people refer to them as incantations. I like affirmations. Doing a visualization every day, and then meditating every day. So we call it the big 4. Start your day every day. And that consistent daily, I call it the hour of power. That became my monicum, is that daily successful routine. I never leave my house without doing it. And he taught me to begin that process. Reading books, studying, going to seminars, right? And elevating your vibrational energy to attract the things and manifest what you want.
All right, so you basically took the entire next segment. So I want to slow that down for a minute.
Sure.
To give our audience a
Yeah.
tidbit. I always ask people, okay, like, you're successful.
Yeah.
We understand how you've kind of gotten there. The
Yeah.
people that are important, because it's always people.
Yes.
We can't do this by ourselves.
All about relationships, yeah.
To maintain success, okay, let's give some tips on how others can maintain success the way that you do. What do you do to maintain your success?
Well, again, it's, there's different aspects of your life. So I think it's important, one, physically, mentally, spiritually. So I'm working out 6 days a week to keep myself physically in good shape. The mental game, which is the headspace, this morning routine, going to seminars, doing personal growth work, constantly working on myself. Spiritual, however you define that for yourself. But those are the things that I'm doing on a consistent daily basis, and I think that's important.
What are the big 4 again?
So it's having written goals in every aspect of your life, having them written, and then reviewing them every day as part of your morning routine. Doing affirmations to increase your vibrational energy. It's really about retraining your subconscious mind to think differently. And so this is what all this does. And then doing a visualization with feelings, visualizing your life the way you want it to be as though it's already here, with the feelings that you would have if it was already here.
So let's get tactical.
Yeah.
Do you write the goals every day? Do you write them once a month, once a week?
So the way I do it is we teach a goal setting workshop. So we teach goal setting we write, the goal should be written by October 1st because it allows 90 days before the start of the new year. So October of the previous year, right? Because it really takes 90 days of reading your goals with repetition to begin to let it sink into your subconscious to become more believable. And then you may want to tweak some things you may take out, some things you might want to add or expand. But we do that on October 1st. And then so I'm off and running, and then I review them every day. Certain things I do write out, just we call it those quick goals. I'll write those out every day, but mainly I'm reading them every day. So I do that with the goals. And then the affirmations, we have affirmations for our staff. We do morning huddles, afternoon huddles. We do it as a team. But I have my own personal affirmations that I do every day. And then visualizing, everybody, there's no wrong or right way to do it. But visualizing is important because you see what you want, right? You see it in your mind, you create it, physically. So it's getting clear about what it is that you want. So that's always step one. What do you want? So it's about clarity. You got to get clear first, right? So once you get clear, then you begin to visualize. Sometimes I do it in silence, and sometimes I will do it as a guided visualization. You can download a million different things.
Of course, I call it castles in the sky.
Okay. Yep.
If you can't see it, you can't build it.
There you go. Exactly right.
Right?
Yep.
No one else will see it but
Right.
you.
And by the way, athletes do it all the time.
All the time.
Right? So people think it's kind of woo-woo. It's not. It's become mainstream now.
It's actually great. There's great YouTube clips of Ronaldo.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the field.
Yeah.
Okay, talking about that I will play well today.
Yep.
Right. I will score. I will score a lot. I will help my team win. And you're looking at him like. By the way, this was before AI, so you know it's real.
Yeah.
Ronaldo
absolutely.
was actually there being caught doing it.
Yeah.
So actually, it brings me to the next segment I want to ask you.
Okay.
I asked all the guests the same question. What is your favorite quote?
Well, Jim Rohn once said, again, the key to life is working harder on yourself than you do on your job, your vocation, whatever it is, because everything really stems from that. I do like The Man in the Arena, that poem. It's a very long quote, being in the arena. So I won't bring it up here, but I think that one is succinct by Jim Rohn, succinct and to the point in terms of it's about you. You are in charge of your life. So number one, you have to take accountability. Number two, if you want to create an outstanding life, then you have to become outstanding. You have to, the whole be, do, have mentality, be that person. So if you're being successful, then you're doing the successful things you need to do, you'll ultimately have what you want. So that's why I like that quote, because it really just reminds me it's about being that person and me taking accountability, and then everything else I can attract to me, the right people, the right situations. You just start to manifest things. You don't even know where it's going to come from, and I don't worry about it. But that's why I like that quote.
I think it's one of the words that I took away from that is accountability.
Yeah.
And I think accountability is something that we don't do often. We don't do enough.
Yep.
Even in a simple fight that you have with your spouse or loved one, you might think you're right, and maybe you are right at the point, but always take accountability first. Like, I'm sorry I made you feel that way because I want to learn how not to make you feel that way. And I think if more people took accountability for the little things, then it makes it a lot easier to take accountability for the big things.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
So it's been a pleasure having you here today.
Okay.
If anybody wants to know information about you or where to find you, how do they do that?
They can email me directly. My email is Dr. Axelrod. It's DrAxelrod at Elmsford, ELMSFORD, Chiropractic, CHIROPRACTIC.com. They could also feel my cell number. I don't care. It's 914-589-5697. Call, text. I'm an open book.
We will we'll put all of that in the bottom of the podcast because I can't spell the same words that the doc was spelling. It was like a spelling bee there.
Yeah.
But it's been amazing to have Dr. Axelrod here. Thank you for watching and thank you for listening to the Relive the Moments podcast. Please make sure you like and subscribe. And remember, sharing is caring. Send it to everybody that you like. It's a great story he has. And I'm really honored to be sitting next to him. Thank you again, Dr. Axelrod.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.